A federal judge just grilled Pentagon lawyers in court over their punishment of Senator Mark Kelly. The Trump administration censured Kelly, a decorated Navy veteran and sitting U.S. senator, for telling troops they can refuse illegal orders. Now they're threatening to reduce his military pension and downgrade his retirement rank. Kelly sued, claiming First Amendment retaliation, and the judge said, quote, "You don't need a weatherman to see which way the wind is blowing," suggesting the Pentagon violated Kelly's constitutional rights. This could be a landmark case on whether retired military officers have free speech rights. Stay with me because this has massive implications. What's up, everyone? Marcus Reed here with Senate Decoded, where I break down the constitutional battles that define our rights. Real quick, if you want coverage of constitutional showdowns between the government and elected officials, cases that could redefine First Amendment rights, and legal battles the media glosses over, hit that subscribe button now. This Mark Kelly case could reach the Supreme Court. Don't miss it. All right, here's what's happening. Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat from Arizona, former Navy captain, astronaut, husband of Gabby Giffords, is suing War Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon. Why? Because they censured him and are threatening to reduce his military pension and retirement rank as punishment for a video he posted telling troops they can refuse illegal orders. Kelly says this is unconstitutional retaliation for protected political speech. A federal judge heard arguments Tuesday and appears to agree with Kelly. I'm breaking down what Kelly said in the video, why Hegseth censured him, what the judge said in court, the constitutional questions about retired officers' speech rights, what happens if Kelly wins, and what this means for Trump's Pentagon. Let's get into it. Let's start with the video that triggered this entire legal battle, because what Kelly actually said matters. The video. In November 2025, Senator Mark Kelly and 5 other Democratic lawmakers posted a video on social media. In the video, they told members of the U.S. military to refuse illegal orders. The 6 lawmakers were Mark Kelly, DAZ, former Navy captain, astronaut, Senator Tammy Duckworth, DIL, former Army helicopter pilot, lost both legs in Iraq, Senator Ruben Gallego, DAZ, Marine Corps veteran, Senator Jason Crow, DCO, Army Ranger veteran, Representative Mickey Sherrill, DNJ, former Navy helicopter pilot, Representative Ted Lieu, DCA, Air Force Reserve Colonel, Representative. All 6 are military veterans. All 6 are Democrats, and all 6 recorded this message. What they said, the exact wording of the video, matters legally. They told service members, "You have a duty to refuse illegal orders. The Uniform Code of Military Justice requires you to disobey unlawful commands. You took an oath to the Constitution, not to any president. If you're ordered to do something illegal, you must refuse." The context. This video came shortly after Trump's re-election in November 2024 and before his January 2025 inauguration. Democrats were terrified Trump would use the military domestically against protesters, order troops to conduct mass deportations, purge military leadership, weaponize the armed forces for political purposes. So these 6 lawmakers, all veterans, recorded this message to remind service members of their constitutional obligations. Legally, yes. The Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ, Article 90, states, "Any person subject to this chapter who willfully disobeys a lawful command of his superior commissioned officer shall be punished." Keyword, lawful. If an order is unlawful, you are required to disobey it. Examples of unlawful orders: order to fire on unarmed American civilians, order to execute prisoners without trial, order to commit war crimes, order to violate the Constitution. So Kelly and the other 5 were stating military law accurately. Why this angered Trump and Hegseth? From the Trump administration's perspective, this video undermines military discipline and chain of command, encourages insubordination, suggests Trump will issue illegal orders, insult to his authority, counsels disobedience before Trump even takes office as a partisan political attack disguised as legal advice. The "don't give up the ship" reference. Kelly also posted content referencing the War of 1812 naval battle cry, "Don't give up the ship." Hegseth and Trump supporters saw this as Kelly telling the military to resist Trump's administration. Kelly says it's about defending the Constitution, not resisting lawful authority. The legal gray area. Here's where it gets complicated. Kelly is a sitting U.S. senator protected by speech and debate clause for legislative actions, a retired military officer still subject to UCMJ in some circumstances, speaking as a politician, not as an officer. Can the Pentagon punish a sitting senator for political speech about military matters? That's the constitutional question at the heart of this case. Now let's talk about how War Secretary Pete Hegseth responded, because his actions triggered Kelly's lawsuit. The Censure. On January 5, 2026, Hegseth issued an official letter of censure against Senator Mark Kelly. A censure is a formal written rebuke, an official statement of disapproval and condemnation. What the censure accused Kelly of. According to Hegseth's letter, Kelly was guilty of undermining the chain of command, encouraging troops to question orders, counseling disobedience, telling service members they can refuse orders, conduct unbecoming an officer, behavior that discredits the military. All of these are violations under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. The retirement grade review. But Hegseth didn't stop at censure. He also reopened Kelly's military retirement grade determination. This is huge. Let me explain why. When military officers retire, their retirement rank determines their pension amount, their military benefits, their official title and honors. Kelly retired as a Navy captain, '06, a senior officer, rank just below admiral. As a retired captain, Kelly receives a substantial military pension based on that rank. But if the Pentagon downgrades his retirement rank, say, to Commander '05 or even lower, his pension decreases significantly. The process. Hegseth ordered a review of whether Kelly's retirement grade should be reduced because of his video telling troops to refuse orders, his don't give up the ship posts, his alleged conduct unbecoming an officer. If the review determines Kelly's conduct was unbecoming, they could reduce his retirement rank, cut his pension strip, certain military honors. The FBI investigation. Your document mentions FBI scheduling interviews with 6 lawmakers who encourage military members to refuse illegal orders. So the FBI is investigating Kelly and the other 5 for potential criminal violations of UCMJ. This means Kelly faces censure, already issued, pension reduction, under review, potential criminal charges, under investigation. Why this is unprecedented. Here's what makes this extraordinary. Retired officers are subject to UCMJ in limited circumstances. If recalled to active duty for certain offenses committed while retired, if they're receiving military pay benefits. But a sitting U.S. senator has never been censured or punished under UCMJ for political speech. The speech and debate clause of the Constitution protects members of Congress from being questioned about their legislative speech. Can the Pentagon override that? Kelly's view. Kelly argues this is unconstitutional retaliation for protected political speech, an attempt to silence a critic of the administration, a violation of separation of powers, executive branch punishing legislative branch members, I would say. First Amendment retaliation. Hegseth's view. The Pentagon argues Kelly remains subject to UCMJ as a retired officer. His speech wasn't protected because it counseled insubordination. This isn't about politics. It's about military discipline. The government must be able to maintain order in the armed forces. The stakes. If Hegseth succeeds, Kelly loses his pension or sees it reduced. Kelly is disgraced as a military officer. Other retired officers know they can be punished for political speech. Trump administration can silence veteran critics. If Kelly succeeds, retired officers retain First Amendment rights. Pentagon can't retaliate against critics. Trump administration suffers major legal defeat. Precedent protects future whistleblowers and critics. That's why this case matters so much. Now let's get into what happened in federal court on Tuesday, because Judge Richard Leon's comments suggest Kelly is winning. The judge, U.S. District Court Judge Richard Leon, is hearing this case. Leon was appointed by George W. Bush in 2002. He's a Republican appointee, but known for independence. What Kelly's lawyers argued, Kelly's defense team made several key arguments. Argument 1, this is unprecedented. Kelly's lawyers said this situation has never happened before. A sitting U.S. senator censured by the Pentagon for political speech while serving in Congress. There's no precedent for the military punishing a sitting senator. Argument 2, this is obvious retaliation. Kelly's team argued that Hegseth is openly admitting they are punishing a decorated war veteran and senator for exercising First Amendment rights. The timing makes it clear. Kelly posts video critical of potential Trump orders. Trump takes office. Hegseth immediately censures Kelly. Hegseth threatens Kelly's pension. That's textbook retaliation. Argument 3, Kelly's speech was protected. Kelly was speaking as a U.S. senator, protected by speech and debate clause, discussing matters of public concern, military policy, constitutional law, stating accurate information, troops can refuse illegal orders, not inciting immediate lawless action. All of that is protected speech under the First Amendment. Argument 4, the punishment is unconstitutional. Even if Kelly is subject to UCMJ as a retired officer, the government cannot punish protected political speech. The First Amendment applies to government employees, including military. What DOJ lawyers argued. Justice Department lawyers defending Hegseth made these arguments. Argument 1, Kelly is still subject to UCMJ. As a retired officer receiving military benefits, Kelly remains under UCMJ jurisdiction. The military can punish conduct unbecoming an officer even after retirement. Argument 2, Kelly's speech. Undermined military discipline. Kelly's video encouraged troops to disobey orders. Undermined chain of command. Created doubt about lawful authority. Was conduct unbecoming. This isn't protected speech. It's counseling insubordination. Argument 3, injunction would harm military. DOJ argued that if the judge issues an injunction stopping Hegseth's actions, it would take power away from the military to manage its own personnel, set dangerous precedent, prevent the government from maintaining discipline. The judge's reaction: this is where it gets interesting. Judge Leon said, and I quote, "You don't need a weatherman to see which way the wind is blowing." This is a Bob Dylan lyric. It means it's obvious which way this is going. Leon was suggesting he doesn't need much more information to determine that Kelly's First Amendment rights were violated. That's a huge signal that Kelly is winning. Judges don't say things like that unless they're leaning heavily toward one side. What Kelly is asking for, Kelly wants a preliminary injunction, a court order that would immediately halt Hegseth's censure enforcement, stop the retirement grade review process, prevent any pension reduction, preserve the status quo while the case proceeds. The legal standard: to get a preliminary injunction, Kelly must show he's likely to succeed on the merits, he'll probably win the case, he'll suffer irreparable harm without an injunction, can't be fixed with money later. The balance of harms favors him, his harm outweighs government's. An injunction serves the public interest. Judge Leon's comment suggests Kelly has met number one, likely to succeed on merits. Leon didn't rule from the bench immediately, but he acknowledged Kelly faces looming deadlines and said he'd issue a ruling in the coming days, so we could get a decision within a week. What Kelly said after the hearing: Kelly spoke to reporters outside the courthouse. Since taking office, this administration has repeatedly gone after the First Amendment rights of Americans. That's not how we do things in the United States of America. We have the Constitution and Thes law on our side. He framed this as bigger than just him. It's about First Amendment rights for all retired military personnel. What this hearing tells us: based on Judge Leon's comments, it appears Kelly will likely get his preliminary injunction, the censure and pension review will be halted, the case will proceed to trial. Kelly has a strong chance of winning, but we won't know for sure until Leon issues his written ruling. Now let's dive into the deeper constitutional questions this case raises, because this could set precedent for decades. Do retired military officers have First Amendment rights? This is the core question. Traditional view: active duty military have limited First Amendment rights. They can't criticize the president publicly, they can't engage in partisan political activity in uniform, they're subject to UCMJ restrictions. But what about retired officers? Kelly's argument: retired officers are civilians. They retain full First Amendment rights. The military can't punish them for political speech, especially when they're also sitting U.S. senators. Pentagon's argument: retired officers receiving benefits remain under UCMJ. They can be punished for conduct unbecoming. This prevents a loophole where retirees could undermine military with impunity. The legal gray area: courts have never fully resolved this. Previous cases have held retired officers can be court-martialed for certain offenses. But those were typically crimes: fraud, sexual assault, not political speech. Can the executive branch punish the legislative branch? Kelly is a sitting U.S. senator. The Speech and Debate Clause, Article 1, Section 6, says members of Congress shall not be questioned in any other place for any speech or debate in either house. This protects Congress from executive or judicial branch interference. But does it protect Kelly here? Kelly says yes. He was speaking about legislative policy matters. He was performing his senatorial duties, oversight of military. The executive branch can't punish him for this. Pentagon says no. Speech and Debate Clause only covers legislative speech in Congress. This was a social media video, not a Senate floor speech. Kelly was acting as a retired officer, not just as a senator. Was Kelly's speech protected? Even if Kelly has First Amendment rights, was this speech protected? Protected speech includes political speech, highest protection. Speech on matters of public concern, criticism of government advocacy, even controversial advocacy. Unprotected speech includes incitement to imminent lawless action, true threats, speech integral to criminal conduct. Kelly's speech was political about government military policy on matters of public concern, constitutional obligations, advocacy, encouraging lawful refusal of unlawful orders, not incitement, no imminent lawless action. So legally, this appears to be protected speech. Is this viewpoint discrimination? Has the Pentagon ever censured retired officers for political speech supporting the president? If not, then punishing Kelly for criticizing the president is viewpoint discrimination, unconstitutional under the First Amendment. The government can't punish speech based on the viewpoint expressed. What about military discipline? The Pentagon's strongest argument: we need to maintain discipline. If retired officers can tell troops to disobey orders, doesn't that undermine command authority? Kelly's counter: I told them to refuse illegal orders, which is their legal obligation. This is the heart of the dispute. The precedent this could set: if Kelly wins, retired military officers retain full First Amendment rights. Pentagon cannot retaliate against critics. Sitting members of Congress are doubly protected. Trump administration can't silence veteran whistleblowers. If Pentagon wins, retired officers can be punished for political speech, executive branch can pressure legislative branch members, military can censor critics, chilling effect on retired military speaking out. My legal prediction, based on Judge Leon's comments, I think Kelly wins the preliminary injunction and likely wins the full case. Why? The First Amendment protections are very strong. The timing shows obvious retaliation. Kelly was stating accurate legal information. He's a sitting senator, extra protection. The government hasn't shown imminent harm to discipline, but this could be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court. Now let's talk politics, because this case is about law, but it's also about power. Why Trump and Hegseth did this? Trump's Pentagon censuring Mark Kelly sends a message. If you criticize this administration, we will come after you, even if you're a sitting U.S. senator. This is about intimidation and deterrence. Other targets could include retired generals who've criticized Trump military whistleblowers, veteran members of Congress, anyone with military connection who opposes Trump. Why Kelly fought back? Kelly could have stayed quiet, but he sued because he's in a safe Senate seat. Arizona reelected him. He's not worried about Trump. He has nothing to lose. His pension is at risk anyway. He's defending a principle. First Amendment matters more than politics. He's protecting others. If Kelly wins, others are protected too. The Gabby Giffords factor. Kelly's wife, former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, was shot in the head in 2011. She survived but has permanent disabilities. Kelly has been through hell. He's not easily intimidated. The other 5 lawmakers. What about the other 5 who made the video? Tammy Duckworth, also being investigated by FBI Ruben Gallego. Also being investigated, Jason Crow, Mickey Sherrill, Ted Lieu. Also being investigated, will they face similar censures? Probably not, because most aren't retired officers. Lieu is reserve, different status. Kelly is the test case. If Kelly wins, the others are protected. If Kelly loses, their next Republican reaction. Most Republicans support Hegseth's censure of Kelly. Their view, Kelly undermined Trump before he even took office. Kelly encouraged insubordination. Kelly deserves punishment. But some libertarian Republicans are uncomfortable. Rand Paul, Thomas Massie, others who care about civil liberties, they see this as government overreach, Democrat reaction. Democrats are furious. They see this as authoritarianism, retaliation against a political opponent, abuse of military authority, First Amendment violation. But they're also scared. If the Pentagon can do this to a senator, what about regular people? The 2026 midterm impact. This case will be used in campaigns. Democrats will say, Trump is punishing a decorated veteran and sitting senator for defending the Constitution. This is authoritarianism. Republicans will say, Kelly undermined our military and deserves consequences. Trump is restoring discipline. The FBI investigation. The FBI investigating 6 sitting lawmakers is unprecedented. This raises serious questions. Is the FBI being weaponized? Are these interviews legitimate or intimidation? What crime is even alleged? If Kelly wins, major embarrassment for Trump and Hegseth. Emboldens other critics, strengthens First Amendment precedent. Shows courts will check executive overreach if Kelly loses, chilling effect on all military critics. Trump can silence opposition. First Amendment weakened. Retired military won't speak out. The long game. This case will likely take months or years to fully resolve, but the preliminary injunction decision, coming soon, will signal which direction it's going. All right, let me bring this entire story together. Senator Mark Kelly is suing War Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon after being censured and threatened with pension reduction for posting a video telling troops they can refuse illegal orders. A federal judge heard arguments Tuesday and suggested he believes Kelly's First Amendment rights were violated, saying, "You don't need a weatherman to see which way the wind is blowing." Here are the key takeaways. First, Kelly and 5 other Democratic veteran lawmakers posted a video in November 2025 telling service members to refuse illegal orders, which is actually their legal obligation under UCMJ. Second, Hegseth responded with a formal censure accusing Kelly of undermining chain of command, counseling disobedience, and conduct unbecoming an officer. Third, Hegseth also reopened Kelly's military retirement grade review, threatening to reduce his rank and pension as punishment. Fourth, Kelly sued, arguing this is unconstitutional retaliation for protected political speech, especially egregious because he's a sitting U.S. senator. Fifth, Judge Richard Leon appeared highly receptive to Kelly's arguments and signaled he believes First Amendment violations occurred. Sixth, the case raises huge constitutional questions about whether retired officers retain free speech rights and whether the executive branch can punish legislative branch members. Seventh, the FBI is also investigating all 6 lawmakers who appeared in the video, adding criminal investigation pressure. Eighth, This case could set landmark precedent affecting all retired military personnel and could reach the Supreme Court. Was Kelly's video protected political speech, or did it undermine military discipline? Can the Pentagon punish a sitting senator for criticizing potential presidential orders? Should retired officers retain full First Amendment rights? Is this retaliation or legitimate military justice? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want coverage of constitutional cases that could redefine our rights, hit that subscribe button. I'm Marcus Reed with Senate Decoded, breaking down the legal battles that matter. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.